All right, so today we are talking about 8.7, circumference and area of circles. So we've been talking about circles for a while. We're just going to learn how to find the circumference and the area. So let's start with some vocab words and we'll get to what those mean. So circle and center. So a circle is a set of all points in a plane that are the same distance from a given point. That given point is called the center of the circle. Okay, we're familiar with a circle, we're familiar with the center of a circle. Okay, let's talk about a radius. So a radius is the distance from the center of the circle to a point on the circle. Okay, and then here's a picture of a radius. So it always goes from my center of my circle and then it goes to one edge of the circle. Okay, all of my radii are all the same measure. All right, let's talk about a diameter. So a diameter is the distance across the circle that goes through the center. So again, we know what a diameter is. It goes from one end to the other of a circle and has to go through that center. Then there's a picture of my diameter. Okay, next one, circumference is a new one. Okay, so the circumference of a circle is the distance around the circle. This is similar to a perimeter. So if I'm talking about a perimeter of a square, it's just all my sides added up. So in this case, for a circle, it's called the circumference, and it's all around my circle added up. So that purple part that is highlighted, that's what a circumference is. All right, and then central angle we did talk about a little bit. Okay, so a central angle is an angle whose vertex is the center of the circle. So in my picture here, I have an angle. Okay, the angle right there in the middle that is highlighted in purple right here, that is my central angle. It's got to have a vertex that touches the center of the circle. It is typically formed by two chords, or two radii, sorry. Okay, and then our last one is sector. So a sector is a region of a circle determined by two radii and part of a circle. Okay, so this is very similar to a central angle, except instead of the angle that I'm looking at, it's that actual highlighted part that I'm looking at. Okay, so it's a little different. All right, let's talk about the circumference of a circle and how to find the circumference of a circle. Okay, so the circumference of a circle is the product of pi and the diameter, or twice the product of pi and the radius. So in my picture over to the right here, my circumference is this area that I'm highlighting. Okay, again, that's like saying our perimeter. So circumference and perimeter are essentially the same. They just talk about different figures. Okay, so circumference deals with circles, perimeter deals with polygons. Okay, so again, to solve for the circumference, it's pi times my diameter, or it's twice pi times my radius. Okay, so let's talk about example 1. So I want to find the circumference of the circle. Okay, so again, my circumference is 2 pi r. Okay, so that's the formula that I was given right above that we just found. Okay, in this case, in my picture on the top here, I'm given that my radius is 4. So I'm going to substitute r for 4. So I'm going to plug 2 pi r, or 4. I'm going to ignore the pi for a second. Think of that as like a variable. I don't even want to touch it yet. Okay, I'm going to multiply the 2 and the 4, and I get 8. So I get 8 pi. So I have 8. Well, if I plug pi into my calculator, pi is actually 3.14. So I'm going to replace 3.14 with pi. Well, 8 times 3.14 gives me 25.12. So my circumference is about 25 inches. Typically, we'll do these in whole numbers. Okay. All right. Talk about checkpoint. So I want to find the circumference of the circle, and then round my answer to the nearest whole number. Okay. So my radius is 6 in the first one. So I'm going to plug it in. So I have c equals 2 pi r. My r in this case is 6. So I have 12 pi. All I did was I multiplied the 2 and the 6. Ignore the pi for a second, and I get 12. 2 times 6 is 12. Okay, times pi. If I plug this into my calculator, or multiply 12 times 3.14, my circumference should come out to be about 38 centimeters. 38 centimeters. Okay, this is a good time in the video to pause, try the next two on your own, and then play when you are ready. All right, let's talk about number 2. So in this case, my radius is 9, so I can plug it in. So c equals 2 pi r. My r is 9. So I have 2 times 9 is 18. Put that pi on there. When I multiply those two together, again, I can plug it into my calculator, or I can do 18 times 3.14. I should get about 57 feet as my circumference. All right, in 3, I'm given my diameter. Now for circumference, I could use diameter. I have 2 different ones. I'm going to do it both ways. So in circumference, I have c equals pi times diameter, or it equals pi r squared. I'm sorry, 2 pi r. Okay, so in this case, my diameter is 16, but then my radius is half of that, which is 8. Okay, so let's see if we get the same answer. So in this case, I get pi times 16. If I plug that in, I should get about 50 inches. In this case, I get 2 pi times 8, which again is 16 pi, which they do match now, so I know that either way works. Okay, so my circumference again would be about 50 inches. Either way works. I typically do the radius route because that's what we're mostly given, but you can always use the diameter. Either one works. Okay. All right, let's move up. So let's go to area of a circle. Okay, so we talked about circumference. Circumference is like our perimeter. Now we want to find the area. Okay, so the area inside of my circle. So that is the product of pi and my radius squared. So my area equals pi r squared. And what I'm trying to find is that shaded region in there. Okay, so in this case, it's shaded in my picture. Let's move on to example 2. Okay, so I want to find the area of my circle. In this case, in my picture, I'm given that my radius is 7, or my r. I'm going to use that formula, area equals pi r squared. I'm subbing 7 for r, because that's my radius. Okay, again, ignore the pi for a second. Just talk about 7 squared. Well, 7 squared we know is 49. 49 times pi, or 49 times 3.14, should get me about 153.9. Okay, again, we typically round to whole number, so this is about 154 square centimeters. Area is always squared. Circumference is not squared. Okay, so this is really 154 centimeters squared. All right, let's move down to example 3. So example 3, find the radius of the circle with an area of 380 square feet. So my area is 380 feet squared, which I'm given there. Okay, but now I want to go back and I want to find the radius. So we're going to do almost the opposite. Okay, so in this case, I'm substituting my a with 380, because that's what I'm given. So I have 380 equals pi r squared. Okay, well, to get r by itself, again, pi is a number, 3.14. So I'm going to divide pi on both sides. So 380 divided by pi, or 380 divided by 3.14. I should get about 120.96. Okay, but that equals r squared. I want r by itself. Well, in order to get r by itself, I need to take the square root of both sides to get rid of that squared up there. When I take the square root, I should get about 10.9 as my r. Again, we round to the nearest whole. So that is about 11 feet. Again, I'm finding the radius, not the area, so this is not squared. Okay. And then these last few questions on the bottom. So I'm going to do number 4 with you guys, and then again, it's a good opportunity to pause the video, do 5, 6, and 7 on your own, and then come back and check your answers. Okay. So number 4, I'm given my radius, and I want to find my area. So my radius is 8. My area equals pi r squared. So I'm going to plug it in, pi 8 squared, which gets me 64 pi. When I plug that into my calculator, again, I want to the nearest whole number. So my area is about 201 inches squared. Again, good opportunity to pause the video, play when you are all set. All right, let's talk about 5. So I have my radius to be 3. Plug it into my area formula. So area equals pi r squared. My r is 3. 3 squared is 9, so I got 9 pi. So my area is about, whole number, 28 centimeters squared. So number 6 is a little different because I'm given my diameter, but I can't use my diameter in area formula, so I have to find my radius. Well, in this case, my radius is that part there. It's really just half my diameter, so half of 12 is 6. So my r equals 6. Okay, now I can use that use my formula. So I have area equals pi 6 squared, which I get 36 pi. When I plug that into my calculator, 36 times pi, or 36 times 3.14, I should get about 113 feet squared as my area. All right, number 7 is a little different. So I want to find the radius of the circle, given that my area is 113 square meters. So I'm going to write that down. So I have my area equals 113 meters squared. My area formula is area equals pi r squared. I'm going to, in this case, replace my a with 113 because that's what I'm given and I'm trying to find my r. Okay, so I have 113 equals pi r squared. Okay, well, to get r by itself, I need to first get rid of that pi. Well, in order to get rid of it, I have to divide it. So I have 113 divided by pi. Those cancel out. I should get about 35.97 equals r squared. Again, in order to get rid of that square, I can square root. When I square root, I get r to be about 6 meters. So my radius is right about 6 meters. Okay, so in this unit, we talked about the circumference, which is similar to perimeter, and the area of circles.